Follow us at Ring Rants! Hey, what's up? This is Alex from Ring Rants! And I felt compelled to make a video about the WWE. I haven't made one in a little while, and I'll be making one with my crew soon, in a couple weeks, or maybe a little less, because Survivor Series is about, I want to say, a little over a week from now, I think. I'm pretty sure it's November 23rd. Well, anyways, just want to say, just like Hell in a Cell, I'm not really too excited for Survivor Series as of right now. There's a bunch of things that don't make any sense, and there's also storylines. There's storylines that don't make any sense, or they're not very compelling. Plus, it's a pay-per-view event. Pay-per-view events should have the wrestler defending their World Heavyweight Championship. Where is Brock Lesnar? I get it. He's expensive. He's expensive to book. But the WWE should try to have him get rid of the belt as soon as possible, because the more Brock Lesnar's away, the more fans are going to get disappointed and upset that he's not there. Where has he been? He hasn't been there in at least a month, maybe more, about 2 months. And, I mean, initially I was happy with him winning the title because John Cena didn't have it. Even though I'm not a big fan of Lesnar, he is a beast. But it's time for him to come back. Where is he? So that's one problem I have with the WWE right now. So they have to figure out some way to have him lose that belt sooner than later. Who knows when that will be, though. Another problem I have with the WWE for years now, but especially recently, John Cena. I'm sick of this guy, okay? I'm not going to knock him for his charity work and the stuff he does for the troops. All that is great. I'm not knocking him for that. But I don't like the way the WWE exploits that. There are plenty of other wrestlers that do similar things, similar charity work, like John Cena, but they're hardly mentioned. Maybe sometimes every once in a while, but they don't get as much exposure as John Cena. John Cena is the poster child. Well, he's not a child, but you know what I mean. He's the face of the WWE. But I get that. But quit shoving him down our throats. We're sick of him. The majority of the fans, that is. So, like I said, I'm not knocking him for his charity work and the things he does for the troops. That's great. But everything else is I don't like. His character's boring. It's been the same character for 10 years from now. It seems phony. Okay, I get it. The WWE is mainly staged. So, for me to say that he's phony is ironic in a way, because the WWE is phony in a way. Although real injuries do occur from time to time, and the wrestlers really do put their bodies on the line. Yeah, okay, sometimes when a wrestler gets injured, it's just a story. But there are situations where wrestlers really do seriously get hurt or somewhat injured, and they do miss time. So anyways, another thing I don't like about this guy, he has like 10 pieces of merchandise on before he even gets into the ring. If I'm that wrestler waiting for him to ring, I get annoyed. It's like, come on, let's start the match already. Quit selling t-shirts here. I get it, it's a business, the WWE's trying to make money. But at the same time, it's annoying. You know what would be funny is if one of the wrestlers was facing John Cena and they're in the ring and they're looking at their watch or like, come on, let's wrestle. And he's taking off 10 sweaters, 10 hats. Well, obviously I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. It's just ridiculous how much merchandise he takes off and throws into the crowd before he even gets into the ring. That's another thing that annoys me. Another thing that annoys me. There's so many things right now that the WWE could easily fix, but they're not for whatever reason. 99% of Raws open up with the Authority or John Cena. I'd be absolutely shocked if it opened up with someone else. That's annoying. The majority of the show is talking, commercials, promoting the network, promoting other products, promoting a TV show that someone's going to be on, whether they have a guest host or promoting their movie. So the majority of the show isn't even wrestling, and when there is wrestling, the majority of the matches aren't that great. Now, every once in a while, we may get a gem here and there, but for the most part, they're not that great. Another thing I don't like about John Cena, he always leeches off the person who's getting the biggest pops at the time. About a month ago, it was Dean Ambrose. Now it's Dolph Ziggler. And John Cena tries to and succeeds a good portion of the time in manipulating the crowd into cheering for him. If you think about it, he's always with the guy who's getting the biggest pops, getting the biggest reception from the crowd at the time. And obviously, the majority of the crowd isn't going to boo Ziggler. So if Ziggler's on Cena's team, maybe the crowd isn't necessarily cheering for Cena, but in a way, they kind of are, if you think about it. So that's another thing I don't like. Bruce Blitz brought up a good point. Whenever John Cena mentioned, say, Ziggler, or in the past a few weeks ago, Dean Ambrose or whoever, do not cheer for him. I'm not saying don't cheer for Ziggler. I'm not saying don't cheer for Ambrose. What I am saying is don't make a reaction. If you happen to be in the crowd and John Cena mentions the biggest face at that current time, don't make a reaction. Because he wants you to cheer. He wants you to fall into that trap. And I've been guilty of it. I think most of us have. Another cheap pop, obviously, if a wrestler mentions what city they're in. So if Cena mentions their city or whatever, ignore it. Sit there. Don't react. Don't fall for it. Cheer for Ambrose. Cheer for Ziggler. Cheer for whoever you want when they actually make their entrance, when you actually see them. You don't need to cheer for them every single time their name's mentioned. But that being said, you can do what you want. You paid your hard-earned money, or your parents, or whoever. You're a fan. You can cheer. You can boo. You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying this is just my suggestion. This is what I would do. So there's so many things I don't like with Cena. And he's actually really ruining the WWE. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things that could be improved upon, but Cena is making the WWE not progress. Now, I get it. Maybe some of it's beyond his control, but don't tell me that he doesn't have some say in his storyline. He never, or almost never, puts over people. Yeah, he got his butt kicked by Lesnar that one time, but for the most part, and Lesnar was already over, so it didn't even matter. But for the most part, Cena never loses, and he never puts people over. And there would be the WWE would be so much more interesting if Cena just backed down at least a little bit and let some other guys get to the top. But he doesn't. It's usually the same guys at the top. It gets boring and predictable. The WWE has so much talent, and for the most part, they misuse their talent badly. And I'm getting sick of it. Like I said, I'm not excited for Survivor Series. I don't know if I'm going to even watch it. Okay, something not having to do with Cena. I don't get this. Authority versus Team Cena. Now, of course, the main match has to revolve around Cena. So, you have Rusev, Mark Henry, Kane, Seth Rollins, and one other guy to be named later. Versus maybe Luke Harper, who knows? Versus Cena, Big Show, Sheamus, Ziggler, and one other guy. I don't know who. I don't know if they mentioned him yet. So anyways, I don't get this. Okay, Henry turned heel. I get that. But it seemed forced. it seemed forced. And Henry's on the same team as Rusev just a few weeks earlier, maybe a month, maybe more than a few weeks, but just a little bit beforehand. Rusev and Henry were feuding, and now they're on the same team. It just seems forced. I get it. Rusev is one of the biggest heels right now. Okay, that's understandable. But with Henry, his storyline, that seems forced. It doesn't really seem that believable. And Rusev doesn't really seem to fit in with the Authority. That doesn't really make much sense. Okay, I get it. He's one of the biggest heels right now. Okay, in that aspect, I get it. But in other aspects, it doesn't really seem like it makes that much sense for him to be on Team Authority, because they're just basically putting Rusev's storyline, US versus Russia, aside for the time being. And I think that's going to hurt his storyline. Even though most of us are probably sick of that storyline, we want it to end already. And most likely it's going to end. Who's going to end it? Cena. Most likely he's going to end it. As much as I want the storyline to end already because I'm sick of it, Cena is probably going to end it, and I'm sick of him. Now, I don't like the Authority very much. I don't like Cena very much. So, I don't know. If Team Cena wins, quote unquote, but Ziggler gets to pin, I'll be happy. I'll be okay with that. But if Team Cena wins and Cena gets to pin, come on. Have someone else get the pin for once. Now, if Team Authority wins, even though I'm not a big fan of them, I'd be okay with it. I would. Just because Cena's team didn't win. The only situation where I'd be okay with Cena's team winning is if Ziggler gets to pin and Ziggler from that gets an even bigger push. I know he has the Intercontinental title right now, but if he gets a bigger push from that by getting the pin. That's the only situation where I'd be okay with Team Cena winning. See, in that aspect, that's manipulating the fans to root for Team Cena, even though they may not necessarily be rooting for Cena at the time. Some of them might, but the majority won't be. So, one last thing. Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt. It has potential to be a great storyline and a great feud, but right now it doesn't make much sense. And for the most part, they haven't been really getting too much TV time. And Bray Wyatt, he has charisma. He's great on the mic. Ambrose is great on the mic as well. But when Bray Wyatt speaks, more than half the time, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I really don't. So, I mean, I don't even really think they explain that very well, why he attacked Dean Ambrose. One last thing. The ending of Hell in a Cell was interesting. I'll give it that. And I was happy to see Bray Wyatt back. But it was pretty lame how the feud between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose ended. I mean, that's how it ends. The best feud of the year. Who knows? Maybe it's not completely over. Maybe Rollins and Ambrose will be feuding again at some point. Hopefully that will be the case, but who knows? That was just... I was disappointed in how it ended. So, I covered a lot. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me. If you agreed with me in some things, disagreed with me in other things, let me know. Be on the lookout for future videos. I'm going to have my crew with me pretty soon. We'll be making a Survivor Series prediction video, and I'm not even that excited to be seeing it, to be honest with you, like I said earlier, but who knows, maybe the WWE could surprise us, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Follow me on Twitter, AlexGold14. Follow our Twitter page at Ring Rants. We'd really appreciate it. Feel free to send us questions and suggestions for future videos. That would be awesome. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.